what's up, guys? It's Gabriel Lemaine here at New York Comic Con 2015, and I'm here with.
My name is Johnathan Henessey. How are you?
So hi, Mr. Henessey. Oh, making a book about beer. So that is a very fortuitous name.
I always know when I meet someone who knows how to party because they always make a comment about the name. Unfortunately, my last name is about one letter different from the cognac, but I'll take the association anyway.
So tell a little bit about the history of beer.
Well, our brand new book is, just a second while I get it here. So this is the comic book story of beer, and it is a graphic novel on the true history of beer from 7000 BC all the way up to the exciting things happening right now with the craft beer revolution. And like we would like to remind people, the word revolution, if you really inquire what does the word revolution means, the earth revolves around the sun. It doesn't mean a brand new thing, it means coming back to the way things are supposed to be. And that is part of what's going on with the craft beer movement right now. As many of you will know, beer lovers were a community told that they can't have what they want. It happened a long time ago during Prohibition, 1917 to 1933, but even though that's getting to be close to 100 years ago, it took decades and decades for beer to come back from that. And we're only just shaking off the effects of Prohibition right now.
Yeah. Also, I know that a lot of the history of America is tied up with the history of beer, like differing choices of what kind of beers were popular during different eras.
That's absolutely right. And a lot of the definition of what beer is really an ongoing thing that's also changing today. For an example, most people don't know this, but we live in a country that was founded, very largely by English people and Dutch people who brought, one brewing tradition to America. But beginning about the year 1844, there was a series of failed revolutions in Europe. One of them was in Germany. And this was a revolution really of the middle class against entrenched elites in the nobility and so on. And a lot of those Germans, after these failed revolutions in 1844, came over to the United States, and they brought their German brewing traditions with them. And some of these people who came over were Busch, Schlitz, Blatz, Miller. Those are all German names, and they took over beer in America. And that's something that many people forget, is that it's a sort of a somewhat obscure event in the 19th century that we don't think about much in our country that has almost everything to do with popular beer.
So, and you also get into pretty much the prehistory of beer.
Absolutely.
Like where alcoholic beverages were some of the first beverages to take place in arid environments where you don't have things like various purification methods that we have today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, we'll never know where the first beer was made. The art and science of brewing probably came up in a bunch of different places on the globe at the same time. But believe it or not, the oldest beer that we can verify, chemically and archaeologically, is from China. And we can carbon date that to about 7,000 BC. So beer we know is at least 9,000 years old, but we know it went on for a long time before that. We just can't prove it because there's nothing left in the archaeological record to prove it with.
Because they drunk it all, obviously.
Well, because they drank it all, but they didn't have anything to put it in. Pottery is actually a somewhat recent invention when you think about it, and the very first beer was probably made inside like an animal skin bag, something that would have completely rotted away, leaving scientists nothing to find.
I see. So, outside of alcoholic history, you also have other books like the Gettysburg Address,
yes,
the graphic adaptation.
Right. So this is the whole story of the Civil War, told through the words of Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and this takes the idea that the Civil War has really been going on since the very beginning of the country, not 1861, but really 1776.
Yes.
Because in our country, we have not one founding document, we have two. We have the Declaration of Independence, and we have the U.S. Constitution, which is the subject of my first book.
But what about the other intervening one, the Articles of Confederation?
Well, that precedes the United States Constitution, but believe it or not, when we had the Articles of Confederation, we did not have the United States. Yeah. The United States wasn't founded until the Constitution was ratified.
Oh, so that is the beta version of America.
That's one great way of putting it. Absolutely, Gabriel.
So So what got you into having getting into like the educational comics side of things?
These are nonfiction comics, and they are educational comics. They have been used in schools, but they're not specifically formulated for schools. They're for anybody who wants to know more about history. I don't really mean it in the sense of pretty much they're only useful in that setting, but like pretty much comics that are about a subject, right?
Rather than about the stories that we're more used to.
History. Many of us have had like the great history teacher somewhere along the line, or the great experience learning about history somewhere. But in a lot of places, most people roll their eyes when you start talking about history.
Yeah.
And that one reason for that is because it's often not taught very well.
Yeah.
It's dry. The evolution of the teaching of history is something that's ongoing. So this is one tool in the toolbox to make it a little bit more exciting. Learning about history through beer is one particular way to make it a lot more palatable, let's say.
Yeah, just like how you have historical dramas and documentaries, same way you can have that for comics.
Exactly. And I think, knowing more about history, the building blocks of what's going on around us right now, everything that is around us right now has something to do with history. So if you want to understand the world around you, you've got to understand why the world around you is the way it is, from the tiniest thing. And you can learn, once you have that knowledge, you have a much more integrate with your present much better. It makes you a better citizen. It makes you make better decisions.
It makes you choose better beers.
Makes you choose better beers and different beers than you've had before.
Well, thank you very much. It's been really enlightening talking with you.
Thanks. Thank you very much, podcast people.
This is Nycc from the Outerhaven.net, signing off.